the thing, I was very emotional through the whole thing because your intuition is heightened because everybody's in a state of panic and desperation. Some to a lesser degree than others, but overall, the complexion of the environment was stressed. It's like show mercy. Everybody's like, show me some mercy, please. And I don't know, but I just remember being teary-eyed and weepy and really emotional. And whenever somebody would do a good turn and reach out and do something positive and extend themselves, I was just so appreciative of that, whether it was for me or somebody else, because it reignites your hope for humanity when you see people behaving in a way that reinforces goodness, as opposed to trying to take more for themselves and leave other people shut out. And that was a very hopeful thing. I think that's part of why I was so emotional, because at a certain point you want to give up inside on humanity when a crisis occurs and you hear about corruption with a lot of the benefits. Where is this money really going to? Is it really going to reach the people? And who's trying to capitalize on marketing their wares, pitching it as a Hurricane Sandy or earthquake quacky, benefit, and you start to lose hope, man. But when you see it firsthand, when you're literally out on the streets and you can't get a cab and you can't get a bus and you can't get a train, and then nightfall hits,
and it's pitch black,
and you can't get batteries for your flashlight, and you're dependent on like one stray junk food truck in Union Square or whatever. I don't know.
Well, your story about being here with your husband and thinking, just having an intuition to go get your stuff, and then 10 minutes after you got back in here, the power.
I can't believe we didn't get caught in the elevator. I can't believe that. That was only by, that was like, because I can't imagine having to spend hours and hours overnight with, a 5-year-old stuck in an elevator. That would have been like crazy. And
so you went down and got your tapes and the suitcases.
Whatever.
And just after you got back in your room here,
exactly,
it
boom.
kicked out.
Exactly.
And then the people that were behind you were screaming.
And the neighbors were coming out of their apartments. And a lot of people split the city. I don't know. I guess they must have had enough gas in their cars. We don't even have a car. So, but those who had cars, they went elsewhere.
You could have come up to me, but I didn't have power either. It's 6 one way, half a dozen the other.
Could have shared some candles,
Oh. Luckily, I had just cleaned out my china hutch, and I found 6 of these big cup candles that I'd forgotten all about.
Wow,
and
lucky.
And I was considering, should I, put these in the Goodwill or should I keep them? And a couple of days later, this hit, and I knew right where those candles were, so I was able to get them. And we went through all those candles.
Wow.
They were, by the last day, that was the last candle.
Wow.
So we got lucky in that respect, but
I always buy good candles on sale, and journals, blank notebooks and candles. I'm like, you can always have a use for these things.
Right? Yeah, I wait till the school supply thing is, you get 5 spiral notebooks for $1 or something.
Yeah. Always.
No, but I didn't have any batteries for my flashlight. It was almost dead, and it went dead.
I went to Jack's 99-cent store, and they were completely sold out, man.
No D-size batteries in the whole entire city.
Exactly. That was a trip. And I bought a cheapo flashlight that takes AAA batteries because I knew I had gone to Costco like the month prior, and I had AAA batteries because I have them for my guitar tuner. And I was like, okay, we can use a little flashlight. But... Yeah, I was worried about everything. I mean, but and then I just didn't want to battle through the craziness of it anymore. It's pretty intense. It's but
I've never seen it so dark. We went out on the street and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face, and you're used to at night having all these leather lights and stuff. And it's dark, but it's really not dark because you got all those extra lights around. You take them for granted. And then the cold. Danielle went home. She got power, I think, on Thursday. Because her area of Long Island didn't get hit as bad. And then...
Where? What area is it?
She's in Huntington.
Oh, yeah, I know Huntington, yeah.
So...
I lived in Oyster Bay briefly.
Oh, okay.
A brief incarnation.
I was dealing with it. Friday morning, I got up for work and I could see my breath. It was so cold in my apartment. And Saturday, I slept in because I knew, it was so cold. I had all the covers up over my head and I had a little space for my nose.
Yeah, that's how I slept with dogs. I was like, I need a bigger dog, man. Pugs aren't going to make it for this.
There you go. I got going on Saturday and I got out of that apartment. What did I do? I think I went and did laundry because it was warm. The laundromat was open. And then when I got home, I didn't even put the clothes away. It was still so cold. It was colder in my apartment than it was outside. And I saw the Con Ed trucks and I saw the supervisor truck up the street. And it's the first day I'd seen him in my neighborhood in a whole week. And I went up and I asked him and he goes, it's going to be... Your building, he said, is one of the worst because all the trees up behind it knocked all the power. He goes, it's such a mess. He goes, it's going to be another 2 or 3 days. And I thought, that doesn't... I didn't even go back to my apartment. I just got on the highway and went out to Danielle's. And I got to Danielle's, and it was about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and I called my home phone, and it rang. So then I knew my house had power again. So I went ahead and stayed the night, and the next morning I came back, and my house had power. But it was 6 or 7 days without power. Yeah. And so it'll be a birthday to remember.
Definitely.
I mean, it was a sucky birthday because there's no cake, the candles were to see it from, not for a cake. Yeah. And it was on my birthday, the 29th of October. What a trip, Yeah.
Yeah, we have to make up for that one. God. Big time. I know, I went to bed early, like the night that the power finally came on. I was under the covers. Jesse fell asleep. It was like 7:30 p.m. I mean, it was early, but I just gave up on the day. I was like, I'm done. I don't know when or how or who or what, but I'm just going to go to bed. I can't take it anymore. And then when I woke up like around, I don't know, midnight or something, I don't know, all of a sudden the light was on next to the bed. That's what woke me up. Mm. And I thought, wow. And I called out my husband's name, I went, Sion! And he wasn't even home from work. It was just a weird thing. And then I was in an altered state. I still didn't believe that it was going to stay. Mm-hmm. I thought at any given time, all of this could be ripped back away. So I better keep filling pots with water and
I did the same thing.
And and keep the drawer chock full of candles and know where the matches are.
Know where your lighter is.
Yeah, it was like post-traumatic Sandy disorder, right?
Good God, yeah.
Yeah, I used to see these people when I lived on the Upper East Side when the Hot and Crusty Bakery would close down for the night. They took all their stale bread from the end of the day that hadn't been sold, and they put it in bags out on the sidewalk. And all these people, most of them very elderly, and some of them, with the tattoos from the camps, like they'd been in the war camps and the Holocaust.
Oh, right, yeah.
They would come and they would rummage through these bags and take the bread, the stale bread.
Now, what part of the city was this?
This was East 86th Street.
Oh, okay.
And I would see this always, on a regular basis, every day. It was like a strange phenomenon, just like, and I can identify with that feeling so strongly because...
So they were still so impacted by...
I believe,
the concentration camp of 50 years ago.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. We'd be walking by as Upper East Side. I was living on 93rd Street between 1st and 2nd, and I would take the subway to Lexington and 86th and walk across town, and the Hot and Crusty was between 1st and 2nd Avenue, if I'm not mistaken, on the south side of the street. And they'd take the stale bread and they'd put it in these garbage bags and put it out, and you'd see always this similar crowd of elders going through the bags and taking the bread. And you'd notice the tattoos on some of them, and
I'll be darned.
Yeah.
That was weird. Yeah.
It's kind of like, New York in commotion. There's a lot of trauma here. There's a lot of survivors here. I think New Yorkers get blamed a lot for being hardcore, but I think you have to be pretty strong to survive what goes on here. Mm-hmm. It's getting more and more expensive, and not only that, people are drawn to New York for different reasons, and I think a lot of them have come from harsh realities and are chasing some kind of a dream, that they're going to realize some sort of a better existence here, but it doesn't always pan out that way, because New York has its own set of rules, as it were, and just when you think you're getting a foothold here, it can all be ripped away. It's like, you're tripping on your shoelaces, and you don't even remember how to freaking tie your brain back together again. That's how it gets here sometimes, because the stress can be so, the stress just stores up inside of you. When you're in a crowd, I mean, my brother who's in marketing, he likened it to a bunch of rats in a cage. Rats in a cage, too many of them will begin to consume one another. And here it gets very stressful because it is very crowded, and people get desperate. And picture all these people crammed into a subway car trying to, gain momentum going down the sidewalk or driving on the streets. For those who drive through these streets, it's just, in the tiny supermarket aisles, trying to get a baby stroller down those aisles, like, good luck, because everything here is tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, while the cost of living is immense.
Sure.
And that it bears, in immense social, psychological impact. Everybody's, just whatever. So probably if you move to New York, you might want to get into a 12-step program, or get a shrink, or pop some meds. Make friends with a psychopharmacologist who can give you something to
I remember when I was working with my friend that did the documentary on the homeless youth, and there was this one girl, and I don't know where she'd come from, Indiana, let's say, or Ohio, or one of those places, to come to, just like you said, everybody with a kind of a broken past, and she comes to New York for chasing some dream.
Yes.
Yet she's like 16 years old and homeless, or 17 and homeless, and living on the streets and sleeping in the subways. And she was explaining, saying, you come here for all the glamour and the glitz and the shining lights, but she goes, there's a lot of dirt and a lot of grime just under the surface. And I always remembered that quote, and sometimes I'll be riding on the subway, and it's like we try not to look at those tracks and the rats running over them, and around the corners of the buildings, but there's a lot of grime in this city, Well,
there's people who live, I got this book called The Mole People. There's people who live in these subway tunnels. And they actually, some of them have kids who go to school. I mean, it's a bizarre existence, but there's this subculture that actually exists below us, and it's hard to fathom. But you know what? At this rate, with the rents being what they are, we just got a new lease renewal notification coming up, and I don't know if we can handle it. Now, I don't know what our options are, given what we haven't got going on right now. I don't know where we're going to wind up.
Well, I'm moving from my apartment at the end of the month.
Seriously?
And I've got a couple things going. Yeah, and I mean, he called and he has the new lease for me, and I just said no. I'm not doing it again. And
we're at a real crossroads. It's a real crossroads. But for so many people, not just you, not just me and my family, so many people are at a crossroads. And think of the people who did invest in their future and buy homes, and now they've been blown off, by Hurricane Sandy, right?
Yeah, and those insurance companies aren't paying them for any of it.
They're not?
Well, if they can get
I don't know why I'm so surprised.
I mean, if you got an insurance policy for your house, and everything in an ideal world works, they'll pay you for your damage. But it's not an ideal. They're trying every way to cut corners.
Yeah.
Some of the guys I work with, they incurred significant damage, and they were talking the other day about how these insurance companies are trying to cut corners on everything they can to pay them.
Change the rules. Yeah.
I mean, they're not even able to rebuild their house.
Yeah.
Get it back livable again because of the settlements.
So why get insurance if it's not going to pay off?
Yeah, it's insane. So,
why?
I'm lucky because I have an apartment.
Yeah.
And So, and I'll go get another apartment if I, do it that route. But I don't think I could afford to buy a house here. How could I afford that?
Yeah.
I mean, just a little dinky, like, 1-bedroom house.
Yeah.
Within 50 miles of the city is going to cost you $500,000.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a crappy little teeny tiny fixer-upper.
So I'll be compelled to, renting
Yeah.
for the rest of my life.
No, you need a really big piece of change to invest in something worthwhile. And I don't know. I know some people who have been living downtown for years that I spoke to are planning to move uptown. Oh my gosh, because they're afraid. They're afraid of flooding. They think downtown, the way it's situated, it's just not built to withstand these big storms. And they're afraid there's going to be more.
A lot of it's on fill. A lot of it's on fill.
Yeah.
If you look at the old Manhattan maps,
right.
Down by Wall Street was about the edge.
Yeah.
And all that stuff down at Battery Park
and all that, City. And
that's all on fill.
They overbuilt.
And so anytime there's a flood, that's going to get, what's it called, Zone A?
Yeah.
It's going to get flooded.
Yeah, they overbuilt. I thought of those people in Battery Park City. And, we used to live in Yonkers right down by the waterfront in Hudson Park, those buildings. I wonder what the heck happened there, man.
Well, I sent my sister a video I found online of these guys. They took bikes out during the storm.
Oh, my
and
God.
They were riding around bikes with video cameras.
Oh, my God.
And by the time the storm hit its peak, the bicycles were submerged. I mean, they're out there riding. And there's one guy filming another guy, and all you can see is, like, from his waist up, and he's riding this bike in the water.
Wow.
But they said once the lights went out, then they had to go home. But by then, by the time the lights went out, it was still waist deep or higher. They showed a brand new Bentley, like you said, filled up to the windows.
Hope they had insurance. Damn.
So, but it was cool though. The guy had another video that Al Gore, his group paid them $500 for this footage to use for the global warming stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
So they took the $500 and they went to one of these vendors out on Canal Street and bought a whole bunch of sweatsuits and sweaters and sweatpants and took them out to Staten Island and gave them to the people that are giving away, clothes. And then they filmed the stuff.
What a beautiful gesture. That's so solid.
I thought it was really
That's
cool.
what I mean. It's like a disaster can inspire such change. And when it inspires change for the better, I'm just fucking blown away by that.
Yeah.
No hurricane can blow me away more than the gesture of human kindness under the duress of a disaster. You know what I mean? It's the power and impact and beauty of the human spirit when we all bond together. That's the most powerful of storms,
Yeah.